friend David Bond is here with us. Used to have a different nickname, a hiker, somewhat, something else.
A hiker stoned.
Make sure we talk into the microphone because I want to
yeah.
make sure everybody
Yeah.
hears you today. A hiker stoned. We met in person. I think it was a Tulsi Gabbard rally or something. I was walking through and I'm like, "Hey, you're a hiker stoned," and you're like, "Yeah." We just started talking, and then we would see each other throughout all these rallies, the events, and everything else. So, welcome to the show, man.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me on.
Wow. I mean, really, to tell you the truth, this is going to be a very interesting show, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not ready to come full open with this because I still have a situation. Mine's a little bit different than David. But this is going to be a very interesting show today because it's going to be dedicated towards child separation, right? Separating families, children from their loved ones, and the reasons behind it.
Yeah.
I think we're all still kind of like confused about what the motives are.
Mm-hmm.
This is going to be interesting because the second part of the show, we're going to have on Tiffany Justice, who started Moms for Liberty, which is known to be more of a conservative, populist right group. However, we're not that. We met at Tulsi rallies, Bernie rallies, and we are old school leftists. So I think when it comes to our situation, that what I'm dealing with, what you're dealing with on a personal level, like I said, I can't disclose completely, but today Dave's going to share his story with us. It's kind of like a little pie in the face, I think, is sorts to like, I know for me, because somebody asked me today, like, when did you start really believing in conspiracy theories of sorts? And I said, I started paying attention to them when it came to Epstein. I think 9/11 kind of got me close, but I was still kind of like, nah.
They wouldn't go that far.
No. But then Epstein was a situation was like, holy cow, there is a ruling class that lives amongst us. There's a ruling class that has a different set of rules. There's a ruling class that's using children for currency. There's a ruling class who doesn't have to deal with the same things we deal with, and they're kind of implementing some kind of overall plan. Would you agree, yes or no, from everything you've been involved with?
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah.
And there's certainly financial incentives involved. There's enough.
Yeah.
It's not an accident.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to play a video from something that was on RT to kind of set the table. Then we're going to get into your story. So this was on RT not too long ago, guys. Take a look at this. It's a little blurry, but you can still hear everything clearly. And this will kind of talk about, because it's not just going on in the United States. In your situation, it's going on in the UK. But we'll just play this video and then we'll get into this. It's quite shocking. Craig, Pastor Jardula, Pasta to go, guys. All the links are down below. Share the show out. This is a very important show today. Tiffany Justice, Moms for Liberty will be here. I'm here with David Bond telling his story about how the UK stole his child.
Well, social services in the UK have come under fire for forcibly taking children from their parents for seemingly minor reasons. Care workers insist they are always putting the best interests of the children first, but families say they're needlessly broken up. And critics claim the system is all wrong. RT's Laura Emmett investigates.
A woman jailed for waving to her children across the street. A mother in court over sending her 8-year-old son a birthday card. They may sound like surreal soundbites from a totalitarian state, but actually they're headlines from the UK. Christopher Booker is an investigative journalist who's looked into what he calls forced adoption.
I had a case the other day where a mother was about to deliver her child in a hospital. Policemen and 2 social workers who came into the delivery room to seize that child. 5 policemen with a mother who is helpless lying there giving birth to her baby. I mean, you can't believe such things happening.
This family is now a happy one, but it was once torn apart, and anger remains at the actions of social services. Little Constancia's elder sister was taken into state care aged just 4 months. And social workers wanted to take Constancia too at birth.
I did think my daughter would come back to us after a time, but she ended up being put up for adoption about 3 years ago. My daughter was about to come back to us when a psychologist came forward and diagnosed us as paranoid, depressed, and used a term remote. And on the basis of that, it was hard to get my daughter back.
Although that diagnosis was refuted by other doctors, it took John Fowler 5 years to get his daughter back. She was taken on evidence from his 11-year-old stepson, who accused John and his wife of hitting their children, something they deny.
I was a brilliant stepfather. I was problems in the house, but I don't think it's merited taking my daughter into care, and putting them into care themselves. I think the problem could have been addressed in a better way.
There are around 60,000 children in care in the UK, 0.5% of the total child population. Christopher Booker says there are hundreds, possibly thousands of cases a year in which children are wrongly taken, and he's suspicious about the motives.
There is a very considerable amount of money to be made for if you're an adoptive parent. You take in one of these children, or you're a foster carer, you can get £400 a week for each child, which is, if you have 2 or 3 adopted children, it's a hell of a lot of money. So the whole thing has become a very nasty, inhuman racket.
At the other end of the spectrum, there are shocking stories of abuse and neglect, such as the infamous Baby P scandal. In that case, social workers failed to remove a toddler from his parents, who ultimately tortured him to death. Social workers say it's a fine balance, and that the goal is to keep families together wherever possible.
It's going to be a debate that goes on and on and on. Either we're too accommodating of parents who have obviously difficulties in caring for their children, or we're overzealous and we're just taking these children and really swiftly and promptly and just placing them for adoption, and those are two extremes.
It's a process that's shrouded in secrecy by the law, and social services refuse to discuss individual cases. But they do say that once a child is in care, the priority is to have them adopted as soon as possible. That emphasis led to John Fowler's daughter being advertised in a local newspaper like these, a practice that's become commonplace. John Fowler's story has a happy ending. He got his elder daughter back, although she's still under surveillance by the social services, and fought to keep baby Constancia. For some children, being adopted represents a chance for a better life. But there are other families who claim they're torn apart by the social services without good reason, and they say it's a life-changing injustice.
I understand the audio wasn't so great for that clip. I do apologize, but I think it was important. There's certain things I want to unpack over here. It's kind of crazy. They say, the kid's paranoid and depressed. Yeah, from you creating this whole fucking situation, you put the kid in. I mean, I've witnessed this in my situation where they're like, this kid's starting to have mental breakdowns. I'm like, yeah, ever since you intervened, since you tried to remove the kid from his parent. And, in the beginning, they said a mother in trouble for buying a birthday card, another mother in charge for waving across the street. And you said to me, when I explained to you a situation that I was going through, and you were like, it's excuses. That's how they get you.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit more about your situation, David, your child, what you're going through? We'll start setting up the videos and getting them ready, but please explain the horrible nightmare that's become a reality for you and what you're dealing with now with Keanu.
Yeah, what I'm discovering is that family court simply does not work in either the UK or in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
That can't be emphasized enough. It just does not work. In my case, very briefly, and we can get into it more.
Yeah.
I gained full custody of my son after his mother fled the country with him. And he was removed by the UK government due to abuse. She was starving him.
Yeah.
It was so severe he had to be hooked up to an IV drip for nutrients.
Yes.
Because he couldn't chew. He was too weak. So I, finally we found him.
Yeah.
And I was contacted by the embassy in London. They contacted the LAPD. He said, your son's been taken into care. He's safe. He's okay. And I thought, great, I'll be with him soon. Why not? I have full custody.
Yeah. You have that letter here today too.
Yep.
Just would like to, when you say full custody.
Yeah, I have a emergency custody order, and it plainly states petitioner's motion for emergency custody is hereby granted. Sole physical and legal custody of the minor child.
Sole physical. So this is your child. You find him. You think that, hey, okay, we found him.
Yep.
The UK has removed him from his mother, who was the problem in the first place, and you have a bunch of other things to talk about when it comes to his mom.
Yeah.
But you were given sole custody for a reason, because you were the mentally capable parent of taking care of this child. What happened next?
Well, then the UK government said, well, we got to go through this process, and you have to use the Hague Conventions. That's what you do when you have an abducted child. To get them returned, you have to file a Hague application. And what the UK did to violate that is the judge said no court in the United States was seized by the issue of custody, because at the time that she fled the country with him,
Yeah.
I didn't have custody yet. And
Okay.
that was true. But Hague law is very clear. You only need a court to be seized by the issue, because otherwise, if you're in the middle of a custody battle,
Yeah.
a parent can just take the kid and flee the country, and there's no consequences.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
It
a
doesn't
horrible
make sense.
precedent.
Yeah.
And the UK judge refused to acknowledge that nuance, and they said you can't have them.
There's so many things that I want to ask you right here, because and I know it's, and you're here and you're shaking and you're going through this. I'm glad we're talking about this. And, I mean, when I first started talking to you, it wasn't ready to talk, right? Like this was going on and you still were trying to kind of weigh out your options and see what's going on. My situation, I have a possible hearing. I don't know if I have this hearing or not. My loved one, if she has the hearing or not, I'm trying to figure this out. We're trying to figure out what's going on. But I keep asking myself, as I've witnessed this whole situation, like, why would they do something like this? You've been through this, going through this since you haven't seen your son since October, and you were able to go to the UK and see him for a while, and you guys had a great reunion, and it was obvious that you were very capable of being his father and taking care of him. Why do you think they're doing this? I mean, there's many reasons why they're doing this. There's also one of the reasons people believe that, and I just want you to park this to the side and give me all the reasons, but there is a theory out there. And once again, we met at Tulsi rallies, right? At Bernie rallies. We're leftists here. We're not like these Steve Bannon conspiracy theories, right? Blame China on everything, what's going on. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with them, but there is a theory that goes on that says the state wants to ruin the family. They want to crush the family. What are your thoughts now that you hear that and what you're going through and other reasons why this could be going on? Why are they trying to take your son?
Well, my first thought was that it was incompetence. I thought, oh, they just don't know what they're doing. It's an international case in my situation. There might be some complications between the laws between the two countries. I thought that's all it was. I thought it was just a failure of understanding.
I thought that too when I first witnessed this. It was as complicated.
You think it has to be?
Yeah, it's they just don't know yet. Once more information comes out, everything will be cool. There's been so many times when I've been to court where I'm like, okay, finally, they're going to get the truth about what's going on, and it's going to change the whole situation. But that wasn't the case. That wasn't the case for you either. So
no, and they are financially incentivized. There are bonuses, at least in the UK.
Yes.
Recently, one of the local authorities over there received, it was either $250,000 or $500,000 bonus for exceeding their forced adoption quota. And the UK is one of only, I believe, 2 countries that still does forced adoptions. And that's when they take a child from their biological parents and gives them to another family. And they get bonuses for doing it.
Where's your situation at right now with your case? Can you talk about that? Or
Yeah, currently, so after my Hague application was denied, which violated international law, then we went to care proceedings. And that's essentially like a custody case. So the UK said, your son is now under our jurisdiction, and they just treated it like, okay, who gets him?
That's it.
That's it. Even though I had my own custody order in this country, my son's American, both parents American. And we went to that, and they ended up saying he should go to neither parent. He should go to my son's aunt, his mother's sister.
That's crazy when they do that. They're doing almost like the information that's discovered in the case I'm involved. They're regretting their decisions they made. But instead of saying, let's return the child to the mother who raised the child and is sane and has done such great, let's give him up for adoption. Let's put him to foster care. Like they're literally, I mean, it's like these people are so narcissist that they can't admit that they were wrong. And yet they have to kind of go through this whole procedure of like, all right, let's just put him in a foster home and give him up for adoption. It seems like you're kind of going through that same kind of mentality. Do you think they have an issue with you or they?
Yes. The moment that things seemed to change, it was when the judge ordered my son to resume contact with his mother. And his mother, aside from being abusive and diagnosed as having what was the term that they used? I mean, they said that she was paranoid, delusional.
Yeah.
She had all these false accusations against me, no substance to it.
Yeah.
And she had hired someone to have me murdered.
Yeah.
So she's homicidal. And a judge in the UK thought, hey, mother should see the child again. Even though it was documented that when, sadly, he arrived to see her, he hid from her
Yeah.
and said, I don't want to see mommy.
Yeah.
Couldn't have been more clear.
You even have footage of mommy trying to steal the kid away from the foster care.
She was able to scoop him up and leave the building in 1 minute, according to the timestamp on the security tapes,
Yeah.
and assaulted a social worker and the supervisor.
Yeah. And this is all caught on film, by the way. There was evidence to show this. Let's start the first video, Jamie, and let's show a little bit about what David's gone through and unpack some of this so we can provide a little bit more answers and context to what we're talking about. I'm here with David Bond. He had his child stolen from him, is in the UK, forced adoption, one of the only two countries, UK, to have forced adoptions, even though he has sole custody and has displayed that he's very, very capable of taking care of his son and wants to have his son returned to him. Let's play this video. We'll get into this. Dave, tell anytime you want us to stop the video and explain what's going on, please do so. We're here, Pasta to go. Take a listen and look.
Now, did you hear what I said?
I prefer prison over death.
Well, death is not the issue. I do not have that power. I do have the power to send you to prison. There is a breach of the order.
I argue that.
What was going on right there, by the way?
So right there, we're having a pre-trial hearing.
Yeah.
They tried to have the mother participate. Not too long after this, she wasn't allowed to participate. She was found to not be mentally competent to handle it. And for whatever bizarre reason, she was telling the judge, I want to go to prison. I want to go to prison.
Yeah. I prefer prison over, what'd she say?
Over death.
Over death.
And we're not sure why she's saying that.
This is a very unstable woman who's obviously... All right, let's play some more of this.
I prefer prison. I prefer prison.
This is not
prison.
I've given you the warning, and so if we have committal proceedings, we may have to come back to this. But please do not breach the order by issuing any further information.
Please put me in prison. Please put me in prison. Please put me in prison. Please put me in prison.
Jamie, is there something wrong with your internet again?
Yeah, I'm not at my house. That's the problem.
All right.
Yeah, it's just slow. I mean,
I'll play it from my end. I'll play it from my end. Let me do that.
She's asked, hasn't she?
I want to see my child. I want to see my child. Please, I want to see my child. I want to see.
I have noticed that
Probably
mother
about
has
2
not
minutes
been
on this.
attending
All right.
contact with the child, and the evidence is that contact is positive.
Just
when
a
it
little before
happens.
that.
Evidence reason to believe that the mother has paid a sum of money for the father to be killed. In fact, Mr. Bond is very keen that your lady appreciates.
So right there, you can pause it there.
Pause it, Jamie.
So that's my representative speaking for
Okay.
me, letting the judge know, hey, the mother hired someone to have me killed. And they had the evidence. It was the Coventry City Council themselves
Yeah.
that reported this to the local police.
So this is a hearing now. Your child is in custody of the UK government. He's in a foster home. You're now having a trial right now to determine what was this particular hearing for to determine?
This was for the care proceedings. So this is when I'm already, they already broke international law.
Okay.
And now they're basically doing a custody case to see if he goes to me, his mother, or a backup alternative on either side of the family.
And this was by the UK courts to determine who would be best for the child itself.
Yes.
Despite you having sole custody, how did they get around and thwart is the word I'm using, or get rid of, or degrade your custody order over there of sorts? I mean, how did they shoot that back and say, oh, we don't have to honor this custody hearing, this custody award?
Stunningly, the judge actually wrote that the court in the U.S. was only seized by the issue of paternity. Now, what father goes to court for paternity but not custody?
Yeah.
Why would you want to put yourself on the hook for child support if you have no interest in being in the child's life?
Yeah.
No one voluntarily would do that. So clearly it was both paternity and custody, and the judge just
said, "Who cares?"
Yeah. And what we'll see next in the clip here.
All right, let me see if I can get to it too.
You'll see how dismissive the judge is of this. She actually will laugh.
Where's that at?
Just go a little earlier, a little more. Oh, a little before that, actually, because it'll show the evidence from the police report. Yeah, right there.
Okay, I'm gonna really, Jamie. I'm gonna use my my stuff real quick to do this. I got it, Jamie.
I'm not sure. I mean, just not sure what I can do about it.
What you're hired for is to help us.
I can't just assume it's true. I haven't looked at what the evidence to support it is. But, I mean...
You stupid fucking cunt.
Look at the evidence. A clearly homicidal parent should never be around any child. So they're showing you evidence that there was threats to kill, right?
That's the police report.
From UK.
Yep.
Right.
January 2022.
She's made the statement, I paid someone $8,000 to kill David.
Yep.
To kill you.
Right there.
So they have the evidence. They presented that this was in their hands.
Are you asking?
And she told the police that. She confessed.
I don't know why, but it seems like there's a lot of times people play footsies with this woman who has tried to kill my son and has openly tried to kill me.
If you could please try to persuade her. I mean, surely at the heart of all this is what must be a small, very confused kid who wants to see his mum.
Social worker that he first had, Nadine, like when she used to go, he used to kiss her. And she said to me, it's really funny because he doesn't do that with mum.
Yeah.
Doesn't kiss her at all.
But the local authority is concerned about her presentation. There is no psychiatric grounds for intervention, but there is a long sequence of difficulties, and the word we've settled on is preoccupations.
Okay. Okay. Wait a second. There's a lot to unpack here, Dave.
Yeah.
So the judge was saying that there's
what can we do? What can we do? She's trying to kill the father. What are we going to do?
They have the evidence.
Yes, they have the police report and a confession.
But yet they ignore it and they say,
yeah, in the UK, the father is garbage, disposable.
Yeah.
Completely.
Yeah.
And they're just acting as though the mother herself is a victim.
Yes.
Of a mental illness, which she very well may have. I'm not a doctor. I'm not going to diagnose her.
Yeah.
Clearly something's wrong.
All right, let's unpack that for a second. She
Yeah.
might, and once again, the person I'm dealing with in my situation, there's a situation where somebody's mentally ill. And they've had this attitude, well, just because a person's mentally ill, there are plenty of mentally ill parents out there that can still handle parenting. And I'm like, that's fine. I'm not trying to demonize anybody.
Yeah.
Mental illness is mental illness, but we should be evaluating, is this person, in your case, your ex-girlfriend, in my case, someone else, is this person that is mentally ill, are they capable of being a parent?
Yes.
And that is something that can just be, I don't know. I don't know if this is something that the leftists fall victim to, where they kind of like feel sorry for people and they kind of protect the mentally ill, the weak-minded people out there that really shouldn't be in positions that they're put in.
That seems to be the case. When the time I spent in Coventry, UK, it seemed to be a very, very woke city in general, and the courts seem to operate that way.
How do you push back against something like that, Dave? I mean, you're in the courts here, you're like, and you just said it, you were very cool about it. You're like, look, she might be mentally ill. I'm not going to, mental illness is mental illness. I'm not a doctor, but I know there at the end of the day, if we're sitting there evaluating, is this person capable of taking care of a child? The answer from what you experienced is no.
Yeah, because safety has to come first. You always want to keep a parent with a child, but if safety concerns arise, you have to address it. You have to do that. That should be an automatic thing in a family court.
Okay, so I want to go to the next video. What is this next video over here?
This one here, I'll actually, in the previous one, it'll get to the abduction part.
All right, let's get to that. Let me get back to that. So where's the abduction part?
If you go forward a little bit, back, a little more. Right about there, actually.
Okay, let's get
So
back
we're
to
pretty close. So the judge is about to propose that my son be allowed to see his mother,
okay.
despite knowing she's homicidal, abusive, definitely neglectful. And this is not in my son's best interest at all. And I'm going to get to speak to the judge about it. You'll see that here.
Potential to act very quickly in ways which would be distressing for Christian.
Does she have a problem with doing a video recording for Christian in the next 48 hours, which can be played to him before she has contact with him?
A waste of time.
My lady, that is an obstacle for her. I think it would be in Christian's interest.
Even though Christian hasn't had recent contact with his mother, she was his world until his removal from her care. It was a good relationship that we see.
Liar.
So there is a very important fundamental bond between Christian and his mother.
I will follow Miss Kirby's and the Guardian's lead on this. I will order direct contact at an unnamed centre. Need a nod or a shake of head, Miss Kirby, once a week?
Obviously, depending on how it all goes.
Well, yes, at a minimum once a week. At a contact centre, which will
Negligent motherfucker.
You're going out. I swear to you.
Separately with a supervisor will be conditional on the mother observing the normal rules.
She's not.
You will explain them to her again. They will be recited on the order, Mr. Vine. So whether she signed something, if signing is a problem, then signing is a problem. But
it's like we're on an honor system all of a sudden.
Right. So, Mr. Vine, back to you. I know that's not what the local authority wants, but I think we have to see whether it works. And if it works, and as Ms. Kirby says, as Hillier sat through 3 days
Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't.
of a stressful court hearing, behaved impeccably.
Well, my lady, I'm not going to revisit anything. That's the order you've made. We will faithfully draw it up.
And you can tell the contact staff that I have indicated on the very particular facts of this case that I consider that to be sufficient. And I feel like that is the most I can possibly do. I mean, obviously, I'm not asking the lawyers to say she won't be aggressive. I'm asking the lawyers to sign that she understands that if she is aggressive, then the contact will come to an end. Yeah. Mr. Bond, what is it you want to say?
I'd like to strongly advise caution in reuniting these two. I don't know why we're going to play Russian roulette with this to see how it goes, because how it may go and very likely will go based on all evidence and proceedings thus far. But my son will be harmed by this. I think that's incredibly reckless, and it's not looking out for my son's best interest at all. His mother put a hit out to have me murdered. She almost killed him, and this isn't my opinion. This is evidenced by your own court system. So I don't know why we're almost spending this whole thing about how to reunite my abused son with his abuser. I think it's sick, but I have no power and nobody listens to me and nobody seems to care. So proceed in jeopardizing my son.
Thank you, Mr. Bond.
All right. Okay. Hold on. Before we get into the foster care part. So, David, we were talking beforehand, and I was showing you a stack of reports over here, and I keep on saying every single time that I've brought evidence, we brought evidence to the table, and we show in black and white, it doesn't make a difference. It's like their minds were already made up. They already have a story that they want to stand behind. So any evidence you bring to the table, and this is in American court I'm dealing with, we keep bringing evidence to the table. They keep throwing it away. They keep ignoring it. How is it like that in your situation before we get into this here? I mean, because you said clearly, like, I don't know why we're trying to do this. This woman has decided to try to have me whacked, have me killed. That's from your police department over there in England right now.
You guys figured it out. It's not even my claim.
Right? This is not my claim. This is evidence that you guys have brought to me. We've had a situation where she's been abusive to the kid, where she's almost let him starve.
Yep. Also had a burn on his leg. She never brushed his teeth. They were a mess. Just
why? I mean, why, Dave? I mean, if you had to put it together, I mean, I sit there and I ask questions all the time, like, well, why are they doing this? I can't. They're ignoring evidence of abuse. They have it. What are your thoughts?
What in my specific situation, it seemed the tables seemed to turn, which we'll see soon. when the mother tries to reabduct him and assaults the social worker and supervisor.
Yeah.
And I predicted this would be a disaster, and it is. And when I brought that to light, when I raised hell over that,
Yes.
they were mad at me.
Yes.
Because I called them clowns.
Well, I saw you there. I thought I saw what you said to her there, and she said, "Thank you, David."
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Bond. Moving on.
It's like they
Doesn't
don't care.
matter.
These people who are making these decisions are narcissists who think they're better than everybody else, that think they're smarter
They think
than
they have it
everybody
all
else.
figured out.
Yes.
My attorney in the UK, and this is a direct quote, her name is Jill Norrie. She'll stand by this. She said, evidence is not the way to the local authorities' heart, I'm afraid. Once they make a decision, once they make a judgment, they rarely ever change. And I said, so they'll just say and do whatever it takes to make sure that they end up with that outcome.
Yes.
She went, exactly. And they told me that I would lose before the hearings even started.
And I'm facing the same thing right now. And I don't know. We're trying to figure out, like, my only move right now is to somehow publicly shame the Minors Council, which somebody had talked about, where the state of California appoints a lawyer for your child, not even knowing your child. And these people like are failed lawyers in their real practice. Like if you look up the Minors Council, she's a failed lawyer in a private practice. She's working for $200 an hour as a Minors Counsel because she can't find work in the private area because she's a failed lawyer. And that's who they're appointing to make these decisions. And the judges just go along with almost everything they say.
Yeah.
And it seems like no matter how much information is introduced or something called what they should have learned in their first day of law school, evidence.
Yep. Oh, there's no due process in family court.
None.
And that's the dividing line between criminal court and family court. As I was told by multiple people in the UK, perjury is permitted in family court. The best liar wins. So if you're a good and honest person, you're fucked.
So let's see, David, you called it. You said this is going to happen. If we have a situation, it's just going to get worse.
And the foster carer knows.
Yeah. Here we are. I completely refuse. I said no.
Completely refuse. I think, no, I am not putting any of the other children in that danger. And I'm not putting myself in it.
Yep.
So I am not going into that situation.
The judge actually was like, well, we'll just put him in front of her and see what happens. It's like, what do you...
We have to see whether it works.
Jesus Christ.
You don't roll the dice like that just to test her mental capacity. That's what the psychologist is for. That's child abuse. That's what that is.
Yeah.
The evidence is that Christian and the mother, that Christian was happy with contact before it was broken.
Why?
And that the mother
Where did that come from?
appropriately during
I don't know what she's reading.
Foster care does not agree with that at all.
No, Mr. Bond, I'm not addressing you. I'm addressing the court. So far as any risk is concerned, I am confident it can be managed by a contact supervisor. Right.
Oh, I'm gonna have your job, shithead.
Here we go.
Here it is.
Raw security footage right here.
You left me here. What am I supposed to do? I never dared to look inside, just like you told me to. I know you saw it too.
As soon as he came to the building, did he associate it obviously with contact with mum?
This is the very next
I've
slide.
been so ill-advised, I'll tell you. My son will be harmed by this. It's all right, Keanu. You're safe. You're safe, okay? I'm here.
What are we seeing now?
Now, this is the, you don't need sound for this. This is the official report they wrote up.
Which said what?
He hid behind the children and family worker.
Yes.
Did not want to go in. Didn't want to see his mother. Specifically said, I don't want to see mommy. Couldn't have been more clear. He knew better than anyone else there.
Oh, hold on. We got this one here. We have anytime we got a brilliant mind like this judge.
Yeah, listen to what the judge here says here. It's just
But, as a family division judge, my primary concern, my overriding concern is the welfare of the child. And I know that she loves the child. And so please see him. He must be so confused as to why he's not seeing his mum. And that is the tragedy at the heart of all of this.
You want to learn the first rule you'd know if you ever spent a day in your life. You never open your mouth till you know what the shot is.
That is something I want to point out. I'm so glad that you put that there. That's from Glenn Ross, Al Pacino's character.
Great movie.
There, you have this situation, which I've experienced, and obviously you see right here, after judges made an awful call, put lives in danger. We have the better misjustice coming on ourselves than that misjustice, but then just making an excuse for her bad decisions. What I've seen and witnessed throughout this whole situation that I'm going through is that this judge and these minor counsels don't know what the hell they're talking about. I told the minors counsel, with all due respect, I've been dealing with this for 6 years. You've been around for 6 months. You haven't done any investigative research whatsoever. You haven't looked into things. You haven't talked to me. You know what I'm saying? When I was around for the birth of this child, I was a legal guardian for this child until just a year ago. You don't know anything that's going on, and you're just taking what he says on face value and everything against the mother now. You're just pushing back. You had the situation over here. It's
the same thing. And they don't want to know. That's why they don't know. They don't want to investigate, because if the truth is exposed, then you get a just outcome. And they don't want that. In fact, one of the social workers, Jessica Keene, she wrote up a parenting assessment negative towards me. She never spoke to me. She never even interviewed me.
Who was that? Was that the woman that was saying that he has a good relationship with his mom? And
no, she wasn't in this.
But somebody just wrote up an assessment about you. Never met you. Never spoke to you.
Never. And I tried to reach out to her. I called and they would not put me through.
Yeah. Well, the only time I spoke to the one person involved, the minors counsel, was not a good talk. It was after what I witnessed in court, and I was just blown away by what was going on. I'm like, this is ridiculous. This is like happens in a third world country.
And that's the trap. They screw you in a horrible way, the worst possible way, hurting a child.
Yeah.
And then if you show any anger, they take deep offense to that, and they act as though you're unstable or something. It's like, no, you're supposed to respond with anger. That's the right response.
I want to play one last video before we get to our guest. Which video would be the best for me to play right now?
It may be the Blessed Whore video, but it's not very short.
No, it's not. But what does that video talk about?
That has the social worker, Blessed Whore, testifying, and it shows what he said before versus now.
Yeah.
And he's clearly lying. He's caught lying at least 4 or 5 times.
So who is this person that is testifying, just so we know?
His name is Blessed Whore. He's
Okay.
a social worker for Coventry City Council.
All right.
Interestingly, he resigned a month before he testified. So I don't know why he was even still there.
All right. So this is somebody who's trying to advocate for your mom to be the mother to be part of the child's life, even after all this stuff happened.
At this point, the social worker was against either parent.
Okay.
But that's not this one, though. That's the other.
So this one is what?
Video. This one here is just a sample of my son not wanting to end our remote visits. They only allowed me to visit him in person for 2 weeks in May 2022.
Well, let's play this, and then we'll get to our guest. I think it's important to see this relationship and everything you're going through.
Yeah.
Can I have a kiss? Bye.
So, you want to kiss Daddy when he's gone?
Yeah. Oh. I know. We're gonna see you Thursday.
See you Thursday.
And soon you're gonna be home. You're gonna be with Daddy all the time, okay? Yeah.
You'll see Daddy soon.
It's okay. It's okay.
Yeah, that's good. He'll just keep crying.
Can I have a kiss? Mm-hmm. Can I have a kiss, Keanu? I know it's not the same as in person, but it's the best we can do right now. Okay? Okay. Have a kiss, bye. It's okay. It's okay.
Oh, that's a little thing.
I have to pause that.
Yeah.
Because I have the same situation over here, right? Where the mother of the child is telling her kid, it's okay. I know what you're going through. You'll be with me soon. This will all be over. You know, for
Then you have to say it.
yeah. But then they use it against you. They take it in court and they use it against you. It is friggin' awful. And the situation where Keanu's crying for you, we see with my situation, a boy is crying for his mother, but they ignore this and they just continue to do what they're doing despite knowing that they're ruining a family. Your final thoughts before we get to our guest.
I'll just say that these family court systems, and I'm sure there are exceptions, but generally speaking, they are run by absolute sociopaths.
Yes.
Because if you see a child crying, the first question should be why and what can we do to alleviate your pain?
Yeah.
Not accentuate it. And they have held my son for almost 3 years this July. 3 years. And there still is no reason. They've never even made up a lie. You know, there's a lot of situations where people are falsely accused. All they said was the parents have a toxic relationship. Well, no shit. She hired someone to have me murdered.
Yeah. And then in
Of
our
course,
situation,
and I don't talk to her. I haven't in years.
In our situation, we have somebody who is just not, and all we've asked is we said both parties will get a mental evaluation. Here, Pasta Go, David Bond talking about parent separation. We're going to be back with our guest, Tiffany Justice from Moms from Liberty, to talk more about this, the possible. I mean, this shit just sucks.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry that you got to go through it.